Last 3 weeks, we discussed about introduction to trade, international trade, the various factors, external factors affecting international trade. And then we discussed about the documents in trade and then payment methods in international trade, right? Documents in trade, we discuss kala dawlat Mahitanya in the bank. Oh, that I have done. So now, today I'm going to discuss with you. Last week we discussed about the letter of credit or documentary credit. That's a normal letter of credit that is used by 90, if you say 96% of the traders, they use normal LCs. Having said that, there are a few special types of credit also in circulation. And sometimes the traders will look for those special types. So we are going to discuss all those special types of credit also, so that you will have as a banker, even if some customer asks you about these special credits, then you know, yes, something to tell them, something to tell them. You don't have to be an expert. Experts are there in the trade finance department, but at least to continue the conversation, you will be having certain ideas. But most important thing is, to your final exam, there might be questions from this area, types of credit, right? Especially the revolving, rev clause, transferable, and back-to-back LCs. First, we'll discuss about the first special type, that is clean credits. Clean credits. In collection also, we learned about clean collection. There, the clean collection is only the financial document, no, only the financial documents, but no other commercial documents, only the financial document. That is a draft or bill of exchange. Here also, it's same meaning. Clean credits are issued by a bank, and the seller may draw bills upon the banker without documentary support. Last week we learned in when we learned about the normal letter of credit, the most important thing in normal letter of credit is, as per the definition, if the documents are complied with the terms and conditions of the LC, we will pay. If the documents are complied with the terms and conditions of the LC, we will pay, right? So for that, you have to have documents, documentary evidence, documentary support. But here in clean credits, there's no documents involved, only the financial document, only the financial document, that is bill of exchange or draft. Normally, the clean credits are granted only to firms of the highest credit standing or against security. But to tell you the truth, in my trade life, which is more than 30 years in international trade itself, I haven't opened a clean credit, because even in Sri Lanka, we don't have that type of customers. So normally in other countries, UK, America and all, I mean, customers with highest credit standing or against millions of dollars security, the banks might open clean credits, right? Any questions on this? Please ask. Every section, before we move on to the other one, if you have any questions to ask, please ask. The second one, the second special type is standby letter of credit. Standby letter of credit. Standby letter of credit if you take the definition, a standby credit is a documented credit or a similar arrangement, however named or described, which represents an obligation to the beneficiary on the part of the issuing bank to repay money borrowed by the applicant or advance to or for the account of the applicant. I will just give you the definition, then I'll explain to you. Make payment on account of any indebtedness undertaken by the applicant, or make payment on account of any default by the applicant in the performance of an obligation. Right? So this one, in simple, a standby letter of credit. As bankers, do you know about bank guarantees? As bankers, do you know about bank guarantees? I'm sure, even though you are not having any experience on trade finance, but you may have handled bank guarantees to your customers. Isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, you have handled. What about the nama? What do you nama?
Dilusha.
Dilusha from which bank?
Bank of Ceylon.
Bank of Ceylon. Thank you, Dilusha. So, it's a common thing we are handling. It's a common thing we are handling. Bank guarantees, right? Tell me some of the occasions you are issuing bank guarantees. Tell me some of the occasions you are issuing bank guarantees. For what purpose?
Tenders.
Tenders, very good. Very good. Then
Construction.
construction field, very good.
Credit guarantees.
Credit guarantees, super. Super. I'm getting all the answers. That's good stuff. Then
For custom.
for customs, yes. Oh, good crowd. I think I really like. I mean, you are keeping me alive. This is how we have to learn, right? අපි මුන්ට මුණ හම්බෙනවා අපිට මීටර හොඳට යන්න. නමුත් ඉතින් හොඳ crowd එකක්. මට අනිත් පන්ති වලට වැඩිය හොඳයි කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. දැනට you have to keep up the good work. So you know how we are issuing these guarantees. In these guarantees, do we pay on performance of the job or non-performance of the job?
Non-performance of the job.
Non-performance of the job. If the guy has construct the building perfectly to the satisfaction of the beneficiary or the owner, then the guarantee will get cancelled after the expiry. Finish. Right? But that means if they have not done a good job, the beneficiary will call on the guarantee. Then we have to pay. So non-performance is the key word. But in LC, how you are paying? How you pay? Is it on non-performance or on performance?
Underperformance.
Underperformance. If you do the job properly and if you submit the documents as per the terms and conditions of the LC, then only you will get paid. Here, non-performance, normal LC, performance. So that's the main difference. The standby LC is also, it's another word for bank guarantees. The functionality is same. Then why we are using standby letters of credit when we have the instrument called bank guarantees? Now in Sri Lanka, we use bank guarantees, and the bank guarantees are accepted according to our law. But in certain other countries like America, according to their commercial law, standby bank guarantees are not accepted. Bank guarantees are not accepted. They accept only the standby letter of credit. Right? They are having, instead of bank guarantees, they are having standby letter of credit. But the both instruments do the same function. Only the name is different. Right? So that's why we say issuing bank to repay money borrowed by an applicant. Right? When we give credit facilities to a customer, we get a bank guarantee or standby letter of credit. Make payment on account of any indebtedness undertaken by the applicant. Right? Then make payments on account of any default by the applicant in the performance of an obligation. Right? If he fails to construct the building within the given time, there will be a claim. A standby letter of credit is a good alternative for a letter of credit when the buyer and seller are already know each other better. Right? A standby LC is a guarantee in the form of a documentary credit, but is more flexible, has lower cost, and provides less administrative load as less documents are required. You got it? Now, standby LCs is a guarantee in the form of a documentary credit. Otherwise, functional wise, it's the same. Right? A standby LC is used as a guarantee for non-payment, the payment guarantee by the buyer, or non-compliance with the agreement by the supplier, performance guarantee. Now, if I talk about the standby LCs, are commonly used as a form of guarantee by parent company for credit facilities given to a subsidiary company. We discuss about it. A parent company can give a bank guarantee to a bank regarding the facilities given to a subsidiary company. Now, for example, if you say Keels is a parent company. John Keels Holdings is a parent company. Keels Supermarket is a subsidiary company of John Keels Holdings. Right? Now, under that, if the supermarket chain, if they need any banking facilities, and if they need any collateral, the parent company, John Keels Holdings, can give a corporate guarantee to cover the facilities given to Keels Supermarkets chain. Right? So that way, we use either a bank guarantee or a standby LC. Right? In support of importers' open account purchases, it's an important thing. Now, why we are going for LCs? Instead of doing open account transaction? Why? Why we are looking for LCs instead of open account? And somebody tell me the answer.
For payment security.
Payment security. Who is at a risk in open account?
Seller.
Seller.
Seller is at a risk. Now, if the seller is getting a payment security, then we don't have to open LCs and unnecessarily paying the bank charges. Every time you open LC, massive bank charges. Right? You don't have to do that. මම කියන ඒවායින් අන්තිමට අපිට බැංක් වලට තමයි අප්සෙට් වෙන්නේ. කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. We have to change with the time. Right? So nobody, if anybody is having some knowledge, business knowledge එකක් තියෙන මිනිහෙක් අවදාක්වත් මේ වැඩිපුර සල්ලි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ නැහැ බැංකුව වලට. අර පැත්තට අරයට security එකක් ඕනේ. So we can move, instead of LCs, we can move to open account. But this guy is not happy to do open account, seller, because seller's money is not guaranteed. Right? There's no guarantee because even the documents are not routed through the banks, person to person, seller to buyer. Therefore, we can get a standby LC covering the open account transaction for next 6 months. For the next 6 months, till 31st December, we'll get a standby LC covering the open account transactions of that particular customer. So they will do the transactions normally, and any occasion, in case if there's a default by the buyer, then the seller can claim on the standby LC. In that way, he is 100% sure. Right? 100% sure. Right? Then to cover brokerage firms' margin requirement. To cover brokerage firms' margin requirement. Another function. To serve as bid and performance bonds in the construction industry, which we have discussed. To cover advance payment performance bonds, we discussed. To provide insurers agent worldwide reimbursement of claims paid. Right? The reinsuring part. Right. Any issues on standby LCs? Any issues on standby LCs? Ask me questions. Ask me questions. Good man, question. Standby LCs are governed by what regulation? Standby LCs are governed by what regulation? I asked you to go through URC, UCP and all. But I hope you have gone through. Standby LCs are governed by which rules of ICC?
UCP 600.
UCP 600 ಗೆ standby LC ಕವೇನದು? Do you have UCP 600 with you? Article 1 ने केवल Article 1. If we have UCP 600, Article 1. Article 1 එකේ තියෙනවා Uniform Customs and Practice for Document Credits 2007 revision, ICC publication number 600 UCP are rules that apply to any documented credit, including to the extent to which they may be applicable any standby letter of credit. Right? So that means UCP 600 will cover up to a certain extent standby LCs also. Is there any other ICC regulation? The other one is ISP 98. ISP 98. International Standby Practices. International Standby Practices 98. 98 means 1998. Right? The latest one was introduced. Well, no, actually, the first one was introduced in 1998. 1998, this was formulated, and then from 1st January 1999, this is in practice, in circulation. Right? So most of the standby LCs are governed by ISP 98. Right? Okay. The next one, Advance Payment Documentary Credit. Advance Payment Documentary Credit. We call it Red Clause Credit. Right? We call it Red Clause Documentary Credit. The definition of Red Clause Documentary Credit is a Red Clause DC is a documentary credit with a special conditions incorporated into it that authorizes the confirming bank or any other nominated bank to make advances to the beneficiary before presentation to the of the documents. Right? Any LC we open, the advising bank or confirming bank or nominated bank, which we learned last week, will they pay the beneficiary? Will they pay the beneficiary before they submit the documents? Before they submit the document, will they pay? No, they will not. They will not pay. Because once they submit the document, they have to check against the LC and they have to ensure that the terms and conditions of the LC is complied with. Then only they will pay. But here, before they present the documents, before they perform the job, they give an advance. Right? So this is the beauty of this particular special type, red clause. Why it is called red clause? Those days in කියන්නේ මේ මාත් කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට මෙහෙම කියන්නේ කිව්වොත් මගේ වයසත් අහු වෙනවානේ. And when we started banking and when we were in trade finance initially, those days we didn't have SWIFT. Everything was mail LCs and cable LCs. Cables අපි කපන්න ඕන මේ cable එක. Cable එක ගාලා cable එක යවන්න ඕන. Central Telecommunication CTO එක තියෙන පිට කොටුවේ අපේ බැංක් එකට මෙහා පැත්තේ තිබෙන CTO එක කියලා කියන්නේ එතෙන් දෙන කනෙක්ෂන් එකක් උඩ අපිට මේ ටෙලිෆෝන් කෝල් එකකින් වගේ එක යවලා දාන්න ටෙලෙක්සස්. දැන් ඒව මතකත් නැහැ කොහොමද ගියේ කියලා. Right? So every time if you make a mistake, then you have to retype it the whole thing. Or else we used to type the LC and send it by airmail or courier. Airmail තමයි ඒ දවස්වල තිබුණේ. courier නෙමෙයි airmail තමයි ගොඩක් තිබුණේ. Right? ඊට පස්සේ තමයි courier කාවේ. So that's how we operated. Right? Those days, if we agreed with the customer to open a letter of credit with this particular clause of advancing the money, giving the authority to the advising of nominated bank or confirming bank, right? That particular clause we used to type in red color. අපි typewriter එකෙන් ගහන්නේ ඔලිම්පියා රිමින්ටන් වගේ typewriters ඒවා තමයි අපි ගහන්නේ typewriters වල. right? ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ අම්මලා අක්කලා නම් type ගහලා ඇති. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ පරම්පරාව මම හිතන්නේ type ගහලා ඇති කියලා typewriter එක දැකලත් නැති. right? අපි ඒක තමයි type කරන්නේ. ඒක අපි type කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි type කළා නම් දවසට එකල්සියක් ගන්න දවස් දෙකක්වත් එයි අපිට. මොකද අපි තාම කම්පියුටර්ස් ගහන්නේ ඒ ස්පීඩ් එකේනේ. ඒ මෙතඩ් එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවනේ. අපි වගේ කට්ටිය කම්පියුටර්ස් ගහන්නේ කෝකෝ මෙතඩ් එකෙන්. මොකද කෝකෝ මෙතඩ් කියන්නේ? ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගහන්න වෙන ඔය බන්දන්න ඔය ඉන්න ගෑන් තමයි ගහනවා. ඇස් දෙක වහගෙන අහක බලාන ගහනවා. අපි ගහන්නේ කෝකෝ මෙතඩ් එකෙන්. ඒ කියන්නේ අකුරු හොයනවා. කෝ එල් එක කෝ ඒක කෝ ඊ එක කියන හොයන අපි ගහන්නේ. එහෙම ගහවනම් දවස් දෙකක් විතර අපි ගහන්නේ අපේ දවස්වල කියන්නේ කෝකෝ මෙතඩ් කියලා. කෝ කේගේ හොයනවා මෙයි. මොනවද ඒකට කියන්නේ මේ අකුරු සෙට් එක. පෑඩ් එකේ. right? දැන් නම් ඉතින් පොඩ්ඩක් ඔය අතට දැන් හුරියේ අත යනවා නිකම්ම. සමහර ළමයි ඉන්නවා හවාගෙන ගහනවා. ඒ දවස්වල ටයිපිස්ට්ලා සිටියේ ටයිපිස්ට්ලා තමයි ඔය ගහන්නේ. ඉතින්දී අර ටයිප්‍රයිටර් එකේ if you press the tab and then type it, then in the typewriter you get ribbons, black and එක ribbon එකේ black එකයි red එකයි තියෙනවා. tab එක ගෙවුවාම මේක වදිනවා red එකෙන්. ඒ වගේ red එකෙන් තමයි මේ clause එක ගහන්නේ. Just to strike it. Make it strike. Angle දැක්ක ගමන් තේරෙන්නේ. That's why it was called red clause. Right? Red clause කියලා කියන්නේ. Then in the Swift, everything in black and white. Color එකකින් යන්නේ නැහැ නේ. Swift එකක් යනකොට. Right? So this particular thing was started. This clause may require a receipt for the advance duly signed by the beneficiary. The receipt says, please, please advance 50% of the, if you agree to advance 50%, please advance 50% of the value of this LC to the beneficiary, right? Upon obtaining a simple receipt signed by the beneficiary, simple receipt signed by the beneficiary, and an undertaking from the beneficiary to utilize the funds to purchase and pack the material. Number two, to present the full set of documents as stipulated in the credit to the negotiation bank within the expiry of the credit. They will give an undertaking, written undertaking. ඒක අරගෙන අපි මේක දාලා LC එක යවනවා. So the confirming bank or the negotiating bank or nominated bank, they will advance the money. They will advance the money and send these particular documents to the issuing bank. Right? In reimbursement, the nominated bank will claim on the issuing bank in terms of the LC supported by a document as indicated above. Right? These Red Cross LCs, how this operation was started a long time back, 17th century again, the sheep industry, sheep, SHEEP, sheep. Part of the sheep can Battle sheep can battle. Battle one in a mona industry. Right? So those days, those days, when you open LCs, right? The global those days when you open LCs can be LCs tibuna. Letter of credit kirenga tibuna edavsala. On different terms. Those days we had traveler's letter of credit. I think I explained to you in the first class. Right? If you talk about the LC history, it will runs to Egyptian and Babylonian era. කොයිල බලද්දී ඒ කාලෙත් මේ වගේ දේවල් පොඩියට තියලා තියෙනවා. මේ වගේ ලොකු sophisticated departments තියලා නැහැ. But the operations was there, a similar concepts. Then in this wool industry, you know, you have to get the wool from the sheep. Then only you cut it and then you bale it and export it. Right? But to cut the bale, this sheep should be grown up to a certain level. Up to that level, the sheep farmers have to feed them. Sheep farmers have to look after them, their health and everything. So that for that purpose, they need certain money. That is why we are advancing this money to, that is why they have advanced money to this particular industry. Right? Nowadays, in the current situation, it's a common thing, right? Because the buyer is willing to advance certain money to the exporter to manufacture the goods. So in other words, we can categorize these Red Cross advances as pre-shipment financing. Okay, right. In reimbursement, the nominated bank will claim on the issuing bank in terms of the LC supported by a document as indicated above. Right? In order to provide some measures of comfort to the issuing bank and the applicant, the advance payment is sometimes to be made not only against a receipt or undertaking, but also against the beneficiary. Right? Providing confirmation from a shipping agent that it has booked a shipping space on a particular vessel, the sailing date is consistent with the LC. ඒකත් වැඩිපුර අපි ගන්න precautions. Sometimes, no. Sometimes between the buyer and the seller, if you are having a very good relationship, you don't want any of these things, right? But otherwise, you can ask the seller to submit you an additional document, that is a confirmation from the shipping agent. that it has already booked the shipping space for our consignment, right? Or providing a receipt from an independent warehouse that goods are or will be stored and insured. Agreeing that the nominated bank may retain the original advice of the DC. Normally, when we issue the DC, when it is advised by the advising bank to the beneficiary, we give the original LC copy to the beneficiary. But when it comes to Red Cross LC, we don't give the original LC copy to the beneficiary. Instead, we give them a photocopy and keep the original with us. Because when we are going to negotiate the bills, you have to have the original LC copy. Otherwise, you can't. Right? Okay. Any questions on Red Cross? Even in Sri Lanka, we do Red Cross. Are there any restrictions of opening Red Cross LCs in Sri Lanka? Are there any restrictions by the central bank? Are there any restrictions? Can I value-wise? Red Cross LC is similar to what?
Advance payment.
Advance payment. If they have a limit, take a
US dollar 50,000.
Yes, perfect. Can I have your name for that? You're answering.
Shehan.
Shehan from?
HNB.
HNB. Very good. Shehan, mono department, Shehan?
Card center, sir.
Card center. Card center, only. We have a limit of 50,000. So that 50,000 will apply if you are opening LCs under Red Cross LC. Then we are not allowing the advising bank or confirming bank to advance more than 50,000. Percentage is no, right? Right. We talk about the Red Cross LC. Now it's Green Cross LC, right? The Green Cross LC also pre-shipment to be made as the Red Cross LC, but stipulate that advances may only be made against goods stored to the advising bank's order pending shipment. Right? Here the only we advance money under the Red Cross LC to manufacture the goods. Here we advance money for manufactured goods which are stored in the customer's warehouse and ready for shipment. Manufacturer lever la customer warehouse ready for export. Right? So therefore the risk is not severe as Red Cross. The funds are advanced against warehouse receipt in the lending bank's name. Right? Such Green Cross DCs are rare nowadays. Very, very rare these days. Right? We very hardly see. Right? But Red Cross, yes. The other one is revolving documented credit. Revolving documented credit. Then kia kape gina tar kiya naman? Abe kia ke gina tar. How many special type already? What are they? Matakin Kanavan?
Standby.
Huh? Standby, okay. Patangatabi?
Advance payment documentary credit.
Right.
Green clause.
Ada api ane pitpas silang kawan na yan.
Clean credit.
Clean credit.
Clean credit. Standard.
Standby letter of credit. Clean credit species.
Standby letter of credit. Then
Plus.
advance
Plus.
payment or red clause.
Close and green close.
Yeah. The next one we are going to learn is revolving documentary credit. Revolving documentary credit. Now, under LCs, when we open a LC to import raw materials, once we receive the raw materials, the LC is cancelled. So next month we have to again open another LC to get down the raw material. Right? So every time when we want to get down raw materials, we'll have to open LCs. We have to open LCs. So it's a cumbersome thing. So that is why the traders or the manufacturers, they will like to have some other improvement on these LCs, and innovative instrument. When we open the LC once, that will remain for another 6 months or 1 year. That will remain, and meanwhile we can import all the requirements as we wish under this revolving LC. Right? So a revolving documentary credit is one by which, under the terms and conditions thereof, the amount is renewed or reinstated without specific amendments. Without specific amendments to the DC being required. The revolving documentary credit may be revocable or irrevocable and may result in relation to time or value. Right? Normally, these revolving LCs can be renewed or reinstated without a specific amendment. Right? LCs are in the right? And this revolving documentary credit may be revocable or irrevocable and may revolve in relation to time or manual. Time or value. Time or value. Normally, these are used between buyers and sellers who have a long-standing trading relationship and experience in the shipment of goods described in the credit. Right? Now, for example, we'll see some industry. There, if you say the garment industry, they are manufacturing designer clothes. They are manufacturing designer clothes. For that, they have to bring certain material from a certain exporters of other countries, because they have to get this another designer clothes වලට ඕන කරලා තියෙන buttons, zips, ඒ වගේ දේවල් දිගටම ඕන. හැම මාසෙකම every month you have to have a continuous flow of thing. Every month you have to open LC. Right? In large scale you are importing. So since you need these months on a monthly basis, so it is easy for you to open a LC once, and next 6 months, all the imports will be done according to that LC terms, right? And once a new set, once the goods received by the buyer, this LC will automatically get renewed. Right? So customer doesn't have to open a new LC. The same LC we will reinstate, renewed. Right? So that's how these things happens. The amount available on the credit to be reinstated, usually without any specific amendment. Normally amendment and message reinstate, right? Banks issuing revolving credits should specifically exclude the provisions of Article 32 of UCP 600, installment drawings or shipments, as the two methods are fundamentally and conceptually different. This is something very important. To understand that, can you all take out your notebooks and write this one? Because I don't have a whiteboard. I'm doing it from home. Can you take out your notebooks or piece of paper or something, right? Then write months, right? Under months, put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means first month, second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, sixth month, right? Opposite that, the next column, you write 1,000 units per month. 1,000 units per month. Okay, 1,000 units per month. Cumulative. CUMULATIVE. I have given this. Cumulative. Right? The next column, right? Non-cumulative. Non-cumulative. Okay. Now every month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months are there. Then every month you have to import 1,000 units. 1,000 units.
Sir.
Good. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, could you please repeat the columns again?
First column is months. MONTHS, months. The column heading is month. Under that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Pute?
Sir, got it.
Yeah. The second column is 1,000 units per month. 1,000 units per month. Cumulative. Cumulative. The third column is 1,000 units per month, non-cumulative. Non-cumulative. Okay. Right? Now I'm coming to another one. Then I'll go back and ask you to update the thing. There are two methods of reinstatement of revolving credit. reinstatement of revolving credits, right? One is upon time, other one is upon value. Upon time, either cumulative or non-cumulative. And upon value, the banks issuing revolving LCs upon value must indicate the number of times that the DC will revolve, right? Upon value, appear picture revolve in the the main thing the two methods of reinstatement of revolving credit, upon time and upon value. Upon time, it is cumulative or non-cumulative. Okay. Now we'll go back to the cumulative. What do you mean by cumulative? What do you mean by cumulative?
It's the total of.
It's the total of. It's a total of. Okay. Non-cumulative. Total is not getting
Added.
right? It will not get added to the next month, right? Now, I have asked you to put under months 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many units per month we have to import? 1,000 units, right? First month under cumulative. Now you fill the column cumulative. First month 1,000 units. It's okay, right? Then second month 950 units. Right? 950 units. Third month, how much you can import?
$1,050.
1,050, because the previous month there's a balance of 50.
50,
so that
yes.
we can adapt that to the whatever the exact one for the particular month. So we can get down 1,050. The fourth month, due to Corona or something, they haven't done any production. 0. Fifth month, how much they can bring?
1,000 again.
Again 1,000. Any other answers?
2,000.
Why 2,000?
Following month, they haven't imported it.
Yes. Previous month they have not imported anything. So this month they can get down both. Right? Last month?
1,000.
1,000. Last month, 1,000. Right? Okay. Now the non-cumulative. First month 1,000. Second month 950. Third month how much?
1,000.
1,000. Not 1,050. 1,000. Fourth month nothing. Fifth month
1,000.
1,000. Sixth month
1,000 again.
1,000. Right? Okay. Do you have the UCP 600? If you can turn to Article 32. Article 32, last month. Banks issuing revolving credits should specifically exclude the provisions of Article 32. Now, Article 32, what they say is, right, installment drawings or shipments. Installment drawings or shipment. This is fundamentally, conceptually different. that one, and installment drawings are functionally different, conceptually. Under the Article 32, it says that when there's installment shipment, right? First month we will get 1,000. The second month we will get 950, but we have to get 1,000, right? We got 950. Fourth month, another 800, 800, right? In a scenario like that, if 1 month is not adhering to the terms and conditions of the LC, that particular month shipment will be discrepant, right? Then first month we have done 9,000. Second month we have done 950 instead of 1,000. So that one is a discrepancy document. Then any document, then we have to reject it. As per the Article 32, that particular document, and even though the third month you have submitted 1,000 exactly as per the LC terms, that particular one, the second month one, is discrepant, and all the subsequent one also discrepant. All the subsequent one, right? You got a Article 32. If you put it like that, then you won't be able to do the transactions of revolving LCs under UCP. So therefore, when we are opening the LC, we have to say, if it is a clause LC, we have to say, this is subject to UCP 600, but we have to exclude the provisions of Article 32 of UCP 600. We have to exclude the provisions. That provision says it will be null and void. Now, if you put it like that, then you won't be able to do it under revolving LCs. So that is why we say Article 32 is excluded. Article 32 excluded. Okay. Article 32 subject to UCP 600 ready. The DC must indicate whether the revolvement are automatic or not. The DC must indicate whether the revolvement are automatic or not. If the revolvement are automatic, there is no need for any further amendment from the issuing bank. Right? Non-automatic will depend upon receipt by the nominated bank of the issuing bank's authorization. If the revolvements are automatic, so once the 1,000 units reach, then LC will automatically get reinstated. Right? For example, a DC may indicate that US dollars 25,000 may be drawn each month during its 6 months validity. Therefore, when we open the LC, we have to mention the liability of the issuing bank. Now, if they are allowing the importer to import US dollars 25,000 each month, right? If it is cumulative and automatic, we have to have US dollars 150,000 revolvement. 150,000, 6 times the revolving, right? It's about 150,000 liability record 25 into 6. But if it is non-automatic, revolvement is non-automatic. You have to go to the system and do it finally. And make it out of 25,000. Okay, right. Any questions on this? You put the complicated, they give the questions. You don't can. Control of operational risk in revolving DCs, right? Issuing banks should ensure that order or negotiation should be restricted to a nominated bank. We have to restrict those things. If we kept it open, any bank, then it will be problems. Revolvement of amounts remains under control of the issuing bank. Right? Okay. One before the last. Transferable credit. Transferable credit. Right? Read this slide carefully. Then I will come and explain. Right? Grab a bottle of water and come. Right. This is a common thing. If you ask me about my experience in opening revolving credits, in my trade life, I may have opened more than 100,000 of LCs. Lakhsakata very misal adunan nahi kakak. Right? But during that period of 30 years in trade, 35 years in trade, right? Out of my 45 years banking career, I have worked only 10 years, also 12 years, tamai mang anit vate karakune digama trade. During that period, you won't believe, I may have opened revolving LCs. The number of LCs I have opened is about 20-25. Because it's very, very risky and cumbersome to maintain the operation. Right? But unfortunately, these people, relationship managers, since they don't have much idea about trade operations, they come and ask us, my customer wants to open a revolving LC. So they don't know the risk involved in that, right? But it is very risky. So that is why I have not opened, I think less than 25. Less than 25. But transferable LCs, every day when we open LCs, about 10% of the LCs are transferable LCs. So that means I may have opened more than thousands of transferable LCs. Right? A transferable credit is an irrevocable DC designated as transferable. It has to be designated as transferable. Right? You guys are having the UCP 600, huh? Last week it was uploaded. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. How many people have already taken a printout? Shan, have you taken a printout? Okay. Dilusha?
Yes, sir. I did.
Yeah, I have taken a printout. Okay. Keep the printout with you, right? Others, Please immediately take printouts because it's very, very important. From the system, you can't study. You have to have a printout, right? Physical printout. Now, a transferable credit is an irrevocable DC designated as transferable. The entire transferable credit operation is described in UCP 600. Can somebody tell me if you have gone through, just scroll through the transferable credit, UCP 600, can you tell me the relevant article? Have you noticed? Relevant article. How many articles in UCP 600?
39.
39. Very good. Transferable credit. Which number?
38, no?
38. Perfect. 38. Transferable credit, 38. Right? Now, entire 38 article number 38, is a superb handout on transferable LC. I don't have to give you any handouts because that is the best handout you are having, right? So read article 38 to get the maximum knowledge about the transferable LC. But I will try to take you through the process, right? When we open the transferable LCs, the word transferable has to be there. Otherwise, it is not a transferable LC. In other words, the irrevocable DC designated as transferable. We have to specifically mention that, right? This DC is one that can be transferred by the original beneficiary, the first beneficiary, or the transferor, to another party, second beneficiary or transferee, right? It is happening like this. Now, for example, a company like Brandix or Mars, right? They will get, what do you call this, order from UK for some finished material, finished goods, garment material. If it's a shirts or ladies' garments or whatever, right? A UK Marks and Spencer, one of the big supermarket chain in garment industries, they have sent order to the first beneficiary, Brandix or Mars, and they want them to supply 1,000 units of goods for them. They have given the specification, like the material and everything they have given. Can you mute your phone, please? Can you mute your phone, please? Hello? I don't know who is that. Come on, you are disturbing others. Right, thank you. So they have sent order of $100,000 for units, 1,000 units, to import 1,000 units. That means 1 unit is worth of how much? 1 unit is worth of how much? 100,000 LC value, 100,000 LC value for 1,000 units. That's right. Ek unit tag here. බෙදීමත් උගන්නන්න ඕනද? $100. One unit is $100. Right? One unit is $100. Now, this middleman, the first beneficiary, he is not the manufacturer. He is a contact. He is a contact. He is not the manufacturer. What he will do is he will transfer this LC. He is getting a transferable LC. He is transferring this LC to either second beneficiary, XYZ company, or two companies, ABC company and XYZ company. Two companies to supply 500 each, 500 each. And they want to get him 1,000, 500 each, 500 each, they know, they need. Right? Or they will give it to one person to manufacture 1,000 units. Manufacture 1,000 units. Right? And when they are transferring the LC, they reduce the value. First, they make the unit price reduce. They will say unit price is 80. But can they reduce the number of items? No. Number of items they have to supply. So they reduce the unit price and keep the number of units intact. Number of units is 1,000. Now, what's the second LC's value? If you reduce to 80 unit, per unit 80, then what should be the value of the second LC?
US dollars 20,000.
US dollars 20,000?
80,000.
Huh?
80,000.
80,000. US dollars 80,000. US dollars 80,000. Right? Now, the first beneficiary got the LC as 100,000. Then he is transferring the LC to the second beneficiary, reducing the total value to 80,000 and the unit price per unit 80 US dollars. Right? Then what should be the profit margin of the first beneficiary? He is not doing anything. He is not doing anything. He is just transferring the LC and keeping a profit of $20,000. Right? Summa money. Nothing. He is not doing anything. Right? Without only he is having good context. So he's getting the thing done by the second beneficiary. Right? But the second beneficiary is not allowed to transfer to another or third beneficiary. Now, first can transfer to the second cannot transfer to anybody else. But first can transfer to second, or first can transfer to 10 beneficiaries. It's okay. 10 second beneficiaries. No problem. Okay. But they can't do any further transfer from the 10. Okay. The advantages of the transferable LCs is provide the traders, suppliers with the security for payment, because the traders, supplier, the second beneficiary will also get the cover under a LC, but it is not a new LC, same LC only transferred. We can change only few items and we have transferred the LC. Convenient solution for the trader, as it allows him to provide suppliers with the security of a DC without using his own banking facilities. They make banking facilities and trader right? Risk and cost. Extra risk and cost for the original credit applicant. Extra risk and cost for the original credit applicant. Risk of receiving goods from the unknown third party. Because you will get the goods from the second beneficiary direct to the applicant. Only the documents are getting routed, but goods will go direct from the second beneficiary to the applicant. More people are involved and documents have to be examined and mailed twice before they reach the issuing bank, and thus increasing the risk of loss and errors along the way, right? May also increase the risk of fraud. Okay, this is transferable DC, advantages and disadvantages, right? These things you can expect to come. Yes, one moment. මේ ජොට් ඩවුන් කරගත්තා මම මේ දවස්වල පේපර් එකක් හදාගෙන ඉන්නවා. ඊයේ පාර පෝස්ට් ග්‍රැජුවේට් එකේ මෙන්න මේ වගේ ඒවා තමයි අපිට short questions වලට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. What are the advantages and disadvantages and risk and cost to the transferable LCs, right? Okay. I'll make a answer explain color, then I'll give you another flow which is more elaborate on the entire flow of transferable DCs, right? Now here the issuing bank will issue the LC with the notation transferable. Then we will advise the LC to the first advising bank. That is first beneficiary's bank. We call that bank first advising bank. The first advising bank will transfer the LC to the second advising bank, that is second beneficiary's bank. Right? This is how it is happening. This one is very important. Right? I want you to study this for 2-3 minutes and then we'll discuss step by step. That will study make 1, 2, 3, 4 වලින් යන්න items වලින්. You can see this flow chart නේ. මේක දැක්කහම කොහොමද අඳින්නේ කියලා හිතා ගන්න බෑ. හැබැයි මේ flow chart එක ඔයගලන්ට ඇඳලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් කිසි කතාවක් නැතුව මේ අපි කතා කරලා ඉගෙන ගත්තට පස්සේ. දැන්ට බලා ගන්න 1 2 3 4 වරගෙන පොඩ්ඩක් ඔළුවට ගන්න බලන්න කොහෙන්ද මේක යන්නේ කියලා. I'll give you 5 minutes to study this, then we'll discuss. between the applicant and the first beneficiary, number one, what is it? Can somebody tell me? Then we are not able to know. Number one,
Service agreement.
very good. Very good. Who gave that answer? What the answer is? Good answer. What's your name? Yanne. It's a number there. That is sales agreement. And bit number 5. Number 5, what is number 5? What is number 5?
It's a sales agreement.
That is also a sales agreement between first
beneficiary
and the second beneficiary. Right. Then number 2. Based on the sales agreement, applicant will go to his bank. Number 2, to open the LC. Right? Right. And then explain කරනවා. උගන්ට homework වලට මම මේක දෙනවා. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කරන්න ඕන. Now itself I'm telling you. Today itself in the evening, the band house class at at least tomorrow. Don't postpone it. At least tomorrow. Read the article 38 in full. First, read the article 38 in full. And first listen to me and follow my handout. Then read the article 38 in full. After that, redo this transparency flow chart, right? Overall, maybe the mark කරගෙන තනියෙන් කිය මේක මේ විදිහටම ඇඳගන්න. Right? Between the first beneficiary and the applicant, number 1, sales agreement. Number 1 දාලා යටින් ලියන්න. You have to put 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 20 odd numbers. දාලා every step you explain. Every step you explain. That's why I have not given the explanation. You have to explain. Number 1 is sales agreement between the applicant and the beneficiary. Number 2, applicant request the issuing bank to open a transferable LC. Transferable LC of how much? Transferable LC of how much? දීලා තියෙන number amount එක ගන්න.
5 million.
50,000.
5 million. 5
5.
million. 5 million US
5
dollars.
million
US dollars. 5 million US dollars. Tenor 2 months. Tenor 2 months. Right? Expiry 2 months. Expiry 2 months. Expiry 2 months. Right? Then the second one will be 4.5 million US dollars transferred LC, and the expiry 1.5 months. Expiry 1.5 months. Take a second. Now, then they got third decade. Number 3. Issuing bank will advise the LC of US dollars 5 million transferable LC to bank of first beneficiary. Bank of first beneficiary. Right? Number 4, the bank of the first beneficiary will advise the LC to first beneficiary. Advise the LC to first beneficiary. Then number 5 is a sales agreement between the first beneficiary and the second beneficiary. When they receive the agreement or before that, they have make arrangements with the beneficiary. Right? Right? Then after that, the first beneficiary will give instructions. Number 6. The first beneficiary will give instructions. That will be liyan pa. Ogula liyan do ne meka. එතකොට තමයි උද්දට ඔළුවට වැටෙන්නේ. මේකත් එක්සෑම් එකට ෂුවර් එකටම මම දෙන අසයින්මන්ට් එකටත් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. right 30 marks assignment එකක්. දැන් වෙන මොකක් කරලා අපි transferable analysis තමයි අල්ලගන්නේ. right ඒතර they will advise the first beneficiary will advise his bank to transfer the LC with certain changes. The main changes what he has mentioned is amount reduced to 4.5 million and duration reduced to 1.5 months, right? 1.5 months. Then based on the instruction got from first beneficiary, the bank of the first beneficiary will, number 7, advise the transferred LC to the second beneficiary. Second beneficiary is bank, right? So they will advise the second beneficiary accordingly. Now, the second beneficiary knows now they have given a LC of value how much? Value how much? Second beneficiary LC के value क्या है?
4.5 million.
4.5 million LC.
4.5 million USD.
4.5 million USD, and they have to do the manufacturing and send the goods within 1.5 months. Within 1.5 months, right? එතකොට අපි දැන් මේක කරලා දැන් ඔය වගේ දිගින් දිගට යන්න පුළුවන්. Right, number 9. Second beneficiary will manufacture the goods and export them or ship them direct to the applicant. Direct to applicant. And give the relevant documents to his bank or to be sent to first beneficiaries bank. To be sent to first beneficiaries bank. LC එක අරිද්දී මේ සංස කරද්දී මෙතනදී number 7 එකේදී normally we put a clause. Normally we put a clause to say this LC, the payment of the LC will be given upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank. Upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank. නැත්නම් මෙයා ඕනම කුණු ගොඩක් ඇරලා, because this guy, applicant and the second beneficiary, they don't know anybody, no? Between them, no contacts, right? උතර මෙයාට ඕන කුණු ගොඩක් ඇරලා document එකක් දීලා නිකන් යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකෙන්ද මෙයාට සල්ලි දෙන්නේ, second එකට සල්ලි දෙන්නේ only when the issuing bank send the money. So they have to be very careful. Otherwise, 4.5 million US dollars will go in the drain. You got it? Right? So, ඒක තමයි එතන catch එක තියාගෙන අපි ඉන්නේ. Upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank. හරි pay කරන්න. Then, the second beneficiaries bank will send the documents to the first beneficiaries bank, number 11. Then, make a වැරදි, they will not pay until we receive the money from the issuing bank. The 12 නම් මට පිළිගන්න බෑ. 12 මට පිළිගන්න බෑ. මේක ICC එකෙන් දීලා තියෙන මේ chart එකක් ලස්සන හදලා තියෙන හින්දා මම extract කරලා මෙතන ගත්තේ. මොකද මේ දැන් හරියට බලනකොට මේක හරියට ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. ඔක 12 නෙමෙයි. මෙතනින් එහාට වෙනස් වෙනවා. මෙතනින් එහාට වෙනස් කරගන්න වෙනවා අපිට. ඕගොල්ලෝ අඳිද්දි උදේට බලන්න. 12ක් නෙමෙයි 13ක් නෙමෙයි. රෑ 13 නම්බර් ඉරිද යන්න අඳිනකොට නම්බර්ස් වෙනස් කරගන්න. රෑ 13 දෙකම වෙනස් කරන්න. 12 වෙන්නේ දැන් 14 තියෙන එක. 14 තියෙන එක තමයි 12 වෙන්නේ. Right? මේක හදන්න බලන්න ඕන. Right. The number 12 and 13. Then they will give the documents to the first beneficiary. That is number 12. Then 14, but that should be the number 12. Right? Then the first beneficiary, what they will do is they will replace the bill of exchange. Bill of exchange, right? And the commercial invoice, to read as 5 million. නැත්නම් අරගොල්ලෝ claim කරන්නේ 4.5 වලටනේ. දැන් මෙතනදී ඒක ආයෙ change කරනවා. එයා replace කරනවා ඒ document දෙක ඉඳගෙන ඒක ඉරලා කුලියට දාලා එයා අලුතෙන් replace කරනවා 5 million වලට bill of exchange එකයි අනිත් එක මොකද්ද මේ draft එකයි sorry bill of exchange එකයි invoice එකයි වෙනස් කරනවා 5 million වලට එලා දෙනවා එච්චරමයි යා කරන්නේ. Then we will send now number 16. It has to be change the thing accordingly, right? Numbers වෙනස් වෙන thing යට 12 පස්සේ මම දැන් තියෙන්නේ කියන්නම් number 16 then first beneficiary bank will send the documents to the issuing bank. මේ දැන් එතෙන්ට යන document එකේ value එක කීයද? Gentlemen, correct?
5 million.
5 million. Very good. 5 million. Then, when we receive the one, the bank will check the documents and then they will pay the first beneficiary's bank. Now they will pay. Because now they can say whether it's discrepant or not. If it is discrepant, they will not pay. If it is in order, they will pay. Right? And meanwhile, they will submit the documents. They will submit the documents to the applicant. They will inform the applicant and they will submit the documents to the applicant for them to get it cleared. And the bank, what they will do, right? They will, now the 12, they will pay the second beneficiary bank, how much? $4.5 million, and give $500,000 to the first beneficiary. $500,000 to the first beneficiary. The difference. Right? If they nikam midala $500,000 nikam profit tax. Then everything is okay. This applicant will go to the court and get it cleared, and then everything is perfect. The second beneficiary also got the money, right? Make a hundred apo, you have to redo it and number it, then only it will memorize. It will be memorized, right? So very important. After that, draw it and number it again, right? And these are the ones which we have to change in doing the transfer LCs. There are 5 items as per the Article 38, right? We will discuss about it. We'll take a 10 minutes break. Now it's 10:15. We'll take a 10 minutes break and come back, and then we continue the discussion. Meanwhile, you can go through this slide, and then whoever who are having copies of UCP 600, please go through it, Article 38, right? Make up the again. And if you all want to have a cup of tea and to go to washroom or anything, 10 minutes break for it's a very short 10 minutes break you can take. As per Article 38G, exactly, Article 38G, we'll have to ensure that the transfer is in accordance with UCP 600, Article 38G, always, right? And when we are transferring, you can't just change everything. In Article 38G, they have mentioned a few important items. What they say is the transferred credit must accurately reflect. I'm reading from the Article 38G. The transferred credit must accurately reflect the terms and conditions of the credit, including confirmation, if any, with the exception of, they can change only these exceptions. The amount of the credit, any unit price stated therein, the expiry date, the period for presentation, and the latest shipment date or given period for the shipment. Those are the 5 most important areas that we have to ensure when we are transferring a credit. Right? When we are transferring the credit. Now, with your little knowledge about transfer DCs last 45 minutes or so, we know when we are transferring, the amount of the credit has to be reduced. Now, earlier example, the $5 million LC, we have reduced the amount to 4.5 million. 4.5 million, right? Then unit price also we reduce. Also we reduce the unit price, right? Because to reduce the total price, obviously you have to change the unit price. That has to be reduced. And number of units, are you going to change? Number of units, are you going to change?
No.
No. Number of units, you can't change because that is your agreement with the applicant that you will supply them 100,000 units. So you have to supply 100,000 units, right? At whatever the cost, unit price, right? Now, this guy is supplying, the second beneficiary is supplying same number of units, 100,000 units at $4.5 million, right? But the final LC issuer doesn't know, the applicant doesn't know what is the profit margin this guy has kept. Because that guy is replacing the commercial invoice, changing the unit price back to as per the agreement with the applicant, and then replace the bill of exchange of 4.5 million, throw it away, and he replaced a new bill of exchange for $5 million. Otherwise, he will not get 5 million. Right? So the unit price has to be reduced. Expiry date has to be shortened. Why expiry date has to be shortened? 2 months we reduced to 1.5 months. Why? 2 months we reduced to 1.5 months. Any particular reason? Any particular reason? Why we had to reduce the, shorten the expiry date? When we send the documents, or without shortening the expiry date, now we'll take some examples. We'll take the expiry date as 31st August, expiry date as 31st August. Right? So that means they have to ship the goods and send the documents to the importer's bank before 31st August. But if you have not shortened the period, when we are transferring the LC to the second beneficiary, they will keep the documents till 31st August, and then closer to 31st August, they will send the documents to the first beneficiary's bank, because they don't know what is the original expiry date of the LC. They have got the LC to be expired on 31st August. 29th August documents. But this guy's first beneficiary has to replace the documents and then send it to the applicant's bank, issuing bank, before 31st August. It will not possible. It will not possible because second beneficiary to the first beneficiary, it's easy within the country. The other one, 1,000 miles away. 1,000 miles away to send the documents. So they won't be able to meet the deadline. Then if the applicant receives the documents after the expiry, then it's a discrepant document. If it is a discrepant documents on expired LC, they will not pay. If they don't pay, then the first beneficiary will not receive any money. Okay, he has not received any money, but he has put a clause to the second beneficiary, upon receipt of money from the first, applicant, I will pay. දැන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ first එකෙන් මොන වෙලාද ගියත් කමන්නේ. අර අහිංසක second beneficiary, he has spent 4.5 million and not received any money from the first beneficiary's bank, because first beneficiary's bank has not received any money from the issuing bank because of the discrepancy. That is why we have to be very, very careful when we are doing transferable disease. We have to shorten the expiry date. So for the second beneficiary, we will say expiry of the LC is, when you are transferring, we mention expiry of the LC as 10th August. 10th August. So they have to send, or 15th August. 15th August, 15th August, they have to send the documents to you before that date. So they have ample time to replace the documents, right? Shipment date. Same goes with the shipment date. That has to be reduced. Otherwise, it will be a problem. Late shipment is not sure, right? Then presentation date. Presentation date also has to be shortened. Normally we put 21 days. Don't put 21 days. If you put 21 days, after the shipment, they can send the documents within 21 days to the bank. Then we won't be having sufficient time to go through it and replace the documents, right? So we have to reduce the or shorten the presentation date. Don't give more than 5 days or 6 days, right? Quantity of goods may be reduced if partial shipments are allowed. If partial shipments are allowed, it will be reduced. Partial shipments, if we transfer the main LC, master LC, to 2 or 3 people, then obviously we'll have to, as a total quantity of goods will be similar to the original one. But when you are transferring to the second one, second la godak innona 2A, 2B, 2C කියලා. එතකොට අපි change එක කරන්න දෙන ප්‍රමාණය. Insurance. Why insurance? Insurance percentage may be increased to achieve cover required by the original credit. Okay. For example, original credit is $100,000. The insurance requirement, with your general knowledge, tell me what should be the insurance requirement if it is $100,000.
110,000.
Yes. Perfect. 110% of the insurance should be there. 110% of the insurance should be there. Now, the original LC is 100,000. Then insurance cover should be $110,000. Perfect. Now, when we transfer the LC to the second beneficiary, we reduce the value to 80. Then what should be the insurance cover? 110% what is the insurance cover the second beneficiary is going to have? Hmm? 80,000 තිබ්බනම් අපි කීයද ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එක ගන්න ඕනේ?
90.
90ද? 80 වලින් 110 කියන්නේ 88,000 නේ? 88,000 නේ? හරිද මං ඔයා හරිද මං හරිද?
88,000.
88,000 will have to take. If he said, now the first beneficiary cannot change the insurance. That is not a document to be changed. Change කරන්නේ අර commercial invoice එකයි මේකයි විතරයි කරන්නේ. එතකොට when it goes to the issuing bank, it's a discrepant document. It's a discrepant document because that guy has replaced the invoice as 100,000, whereas the insurance is 88,000 undervalued. Under invoice කළා මේකල. එතකොට එයාට සල්ලි හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. Because of that, we have to mention when we are transferring to the second beneficiary, we have to mention insurance to be 140% of the value. 140% of the value. 140% for about 112,000. About 112,000. Now you are okay. 110 value not come on. Then you are okay. That poor guy, the second beneficiary, he has to manufacture the goods, he has to pay salaries to his staff, EPF, ETF, everything, pay taxes and everything, and then unnecessarily he has to pay a higher premium for the insurance also. I think one headed the mind. First beneficiary වගේ වාසනාවන්තේ නෙමෙයි. මුකුත් නොකර order එක විතරයි යා දෙන්නේ. යාට ඕන විදියට. Right? The elements of the Article 38 of UCP 600, I have given these things, very important, right? Please go through it, and not only this, read the entire UCP 600, Article 38. Okay. Any questions on standby? Sorry, transferable LCs? Any questions on transferable LCs? I'm ready to answer. You must be having questions. Answer.
Without reducing the expiry date of the LC, can't we reduce the shipment date and the presentation date and do the LC? Transfer the LC.
Yeah. This is a long story, right? That part we will try to cover it up because we don't know whether we will have time. In documentary credit, right, when we are checking the documents, even though we reduce the shipment date and the presentation date, right, according to UCP 600, you can submit the papers, you can submit the documents before the expiry of the LC, in most cases. Before the expiry of the LC. Because LC expiry is the main thing. අනිත්‍යව මොන හරි හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. මේක හදන්නම බෑ expiry එක. That is why we want to change the expiry immediately. Then the second beneficiary is now is stuck. විත්තියටම තියලා ගහලා තියෙන අපි. විත්තියටම තියලා එන ගහලා තියෙන්නේ හෙල්ලෙන්න බෑ. අරක කරන්නම ඕන. Right? එහෙම නැත්නම් UCP, under UCP there may be certain arguments. Okay, good question. Any other questions?
Are we allowed to extend the expiry date with the consents? Both
Are
parties?
we allowed to extend the expiry date?
Yeah.
No. Expiry dates can be extended only with the consent of all parties concerned. That is,
Yeah.
issuing bank, beneficiary, and confirming bank, if any. Right? So without the consent of the issuing bank, we can't extend the expiry. I mean, if the applicant wants to extend the expiry of the LC, that can be done. And it can be advised to the first beneficiary, because they are having dealings with only with the first beneficiary, no? First beneficiary, and it is up to him to decide whether to give that benefit to the second beneficiary. Otherwise, they will keep quiet. Any other questions? Any other question? Right. Then we'll go to the last one, back-to-back credits. Back-to-back credits. Now, back-to-back credits is not like transferable credit. Transferable credit is one LC. One LC. Right? The same LC will continue. We are transferring, but there are no two LCs, only one LC. Back-to-back is different. Right? Now, back-to-back is a customer, the buyer will request his bank to open a LC to the middleman, the first beneficiary. The middleman, the first beneficiary. Then the middleman wants to open another LC, keeping that back-to-back LC as the collateral, and to open another LC to the second beneficiary. Right? So what is the collateral they are going to keep? What is the collateral they are going to keep?
Primary LC.
Primary LC. The primary LC is the collateral they are going to keep. Security. Right? Is it a good security? No, it is not a good security. For me, it's a piece of paper. Because it's LC, no? So if you not fulfill the obligations of the first LC, then or the first LC, then you will not get the money from the applicant. But these are two separate LCs. These are two separate LCs. Nothing to do with the previous one. Only thing, you are keeping the first LC as the collateral. In that case, if the second beneficiary has performed his job, then the first beneficiary's bank is obliged to pay. They can't say no. Sorry, we have not received the money. They have to pay. Right? I think ඒක මේක ගොක් risky. අපි එච්චර advice කරන්නේ මේක promote කරන්න. හැබැයි banks වල RMs නම් full try අපිත් එක්ක මේක ඇයි back to back කරන්න බෑ ඇයි back to back කරන එක dangerous. Right? මේකත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලන්න. මෙතන බලන්න how back to back letters of trade work. The end buyer is having a contract 1 with the middleman. Right? The middleman is having a contract 2 with the actual supplier. right? So the end buyer, that is the importer, he will request his bank to open a LC. Then accordingly, they will open the LC and advise the LC to the middleman. Now the middleman will keep that LC as a collateral and open another LC to the supplier. This is how it is happening. Now, this also you have to very carefully go through it and then write all the steps 1, 2, 3, 4. Then only it will be registered in your head. Right? You can see importer is there. The real export is on the left hand side. The real importer is on the right hand side.
So excuse me, we cannot see the presentations.
You cannot see the presentation. Earlier one you can see.
Yes,
This one you can see.
You can see.
Huh? This one you can see.
Yes.
This one you can't see.
Now okay.
Now okay, huh? Right. Okay. Right. Then the middleman, one time he is acting as an importer, one time he is acting as an exporter. Dual role. He is having a dual role. Right? Between the buyer, between the second beneficiary and him, he is the importer. To the real importer, the final importer, is the exporter. He is the exporter. Right? Okay. Now let's see how it is happening. The importer will instruct his bank, number one, to open the LC. So the then verse number 2. මේ LC වලින් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන එක වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මම මේක පොඩ්ඩක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරලා කියන්නම්. රයිට් මේක නැත්තම් මේක හරියන්නේ නැහැ. මෙතන රෙඩ් එකකින් තියෙනව නේද? මේ ඇරෝ එක පේනව නේද? Sorry. මේ first the importer will request his importer's bank to issue a LC. And then they advise. Now, number 3 is not number 3, make it number 1 when only importer will apply for LC1. Importer will apply for LC1. LC1 is the master LC. That's a master LC. Then when they apply, the importer's bank will advise the LC to exporter's bank. Here number 4, right? And then exporter's bank will advise the LC to the exporter. Right? Exporter's bank will advise the LC1 to the exporter, right? Forget about these things, what they have written. Then, based on the LC, now they are having this LC with them. They will request the exporter's bank, okay, you keep this LC as a collateral, and then they apply for the second LC, keeping this LC as a collateral. So, based at their request, the exporter's bank will issue another fresh LC, number 7, to the beneficiary's bank. Right? Now, the beneficiary's bank will inform the beneficiary's bank will inform the second beneficiary's bank, right? And the second beneficiary's bank will prepare the goods and send it to the middleman. Sometimes to the middleman, or sometimes directly to the importer. Right? And then, based on that, they will give the documents, shipment documents, right, to their bank. And the bank will send the documents to the exporter's bank. Here, the numbers are given as number 9, right? They will deliver the documents to the exporter's bank. Now, the exporter's bank, now they have everything. They have received the goods also. Either they will prepare a new set of documents and then send it to importer's bank, meanwhile re-exporting the goods to the importer's country. But in most cases, what is happening is delivery of goods not to the middleman, it goes direct to the importer, real importer, like earlier issues, right? And then only the documents are getting routed. So like transferable disease, the certain documents you can replace, certain documents you cannot replace. Whenever transaction first guy, second guy handle it. But we keep the first one as a collateral for the second one. Right? Okay. What is the risk in this whole scenario? What is the risk in this whole scenario? What is the risk in this whole scenario? Unlike transferable DC, I just mentioned to you. What is the risk? The main risk is the two LCs, master LC as well as the second one we call, normally we call that as the baby LC, master and the baby LC, right? The second LC and the first LC, master LC and the baby LC, both are two different LCs. If it is two different LCs, even the beneficiary of the baby LC, the actual exporter, he has a right to claim on the documents. He has a right to claim on the documents. Whether the middleman receives the money from the importer or not, they have to pay. So that is why I told this is not a good security. The LC is not a good security for the middleman. So whenever you want to open back-to-back, please ensure that you keep sufficient collateral. Mark the collateral and then only do it. එතකොට back to back නෙමෙයි ඕන එකක් අපිට කමන්නේ. collateral තියෙනවා. නැත්නම් මේ collateral නැතුව ලොකු අමාරුක වැටෙනවා. right? මේක චුට්ටක් මේක full study කරලා බලන්න. Transferable credit versus back to back credits. The similarities. Let's read the similarities. Go through it. And tell me anything you want to know. Both credits involve a middleman as a seller. They both involve substitution of documents. When issuing a back-to-back or transferring a credit, terms to be observed, right? The price, DC amount and the unit price might be reduced. Expiry date and the shipment date might be brought forward. Date of presentation of documents might be curtailed, right? Insurance amount of the second DC might be increased to comply with the amount required under the master DC. Any documents which cannot be substituted, for example, certificate of origin, you have to think about differences. මේකත් නිතරම එන question එකක්. What are the similarities and differences of back-to-back and transferable DCs? ආන්සර් එක දීලාම තියෙන්නේ exam එකට උත්තර ලියන්න බලාගෙන. Back-to-back credits involve two DCs, whereas transferable credits involve only one LC. Back-to-back credits need not be designated transferable. Transferable credits must be designated as transferable. Otherwise, you can't do the transfer. Back-to-back credits are issued on the responsibility of the bank. Transferable credits are transferred without any responsibility by the bank. Clause upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank, we will pay you. Usually 600 governs both back-to-back and transferable credits, but transferable LCs issued must specifically comply with the Article 38. Anything in normal used to be 600. Hey, normal LC back-to-back credits allow certain flexibility in documentary requirement. Then back-to-back customers require a special credit facility. Whereas transferable credits do not. Transferable credit only and එකම LC එක අපි transfer වෙන්නේ ඒකට ඕනේ නැහැ. Right? මේකත් ටිකක් important similarities and differences ඔයගොල්ලන්ට එන්න පුළුවන්. Any questions? Any questions? If you don't have any questions, then I'm going to ask you certain questions.
Sir, this is regarding this red clause services. In that we have to make advance payment now?
Yeah.
Normally we get the pro forma invoice. In that only that says what amount of advance payment we should make.
Yeah.
And before incorporating this LC, do we have to make the 50% advance payment?
No. Advance payment will be done only upon the specific instructions on the LC. Otherwise, you can't do.
Then we have to first originate the LC. Then
First,
after
you have to establish the LC, and that LC has to be advised to the advising bank or confirming bank, and then only they have to decide.
Then the advance payment should be made out of TT.
We are not sending the money from here, no? How we do the... No,
applicant does not need to make the payment.
Yeah.
Advance payment.
Applicant's bank is only issuing the issuing bank will issue the LC with a red clause incorporated to that. So the beneficiary's bank, the advising bank or the confirming bank, they are the people who will advance the money. They are the people who will advance the money to their customer, because the beneficiary's bank is the one who is advancing the money to the beneficiary.
On the strength of the LC.
On the strength of the LC.
And the issuing bank is made a liability.
Issuing bank has made the liability. Very, very correct. Issuing bank has made the liability, and it's a big liability for them, right? Because if it's everything based on the documents, no? If the beneficiary's bank has obtained the documents as per the terms and conditions of the LC, then they have to pay, even though they have not received any documents from the beneficiary. Okay, for example, beneficiary has taken the money and vanished. Now, what is going to happen? Beneficiary's bank has advanced the money. Now, what is going to happen? Beneficiary's bank has to go behind the people. No. Right?
When the issuing bank has to pay that.
Issuing bank has to pay that. Issuing bank has to pay that.
Then on the credit worthiness of the customer only, we can open such an LC.
Definitely. 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 Right? Is it clear?
Yeah, clear, sir. Thanks.
Yeah. Now, answer this question.
Answer B.
Answer B, red clause. All this time we were discussing about this one. Right? Correct answer is B. Answer this one. In a transferable letter of credit, A, there can be more than one beneficiary. Yes or no? A. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Because it's a one LC. We have first beneficiary and second beneficiary, or many second beneficiaries. So the answer is yes. B, there is more than one issuing bank involved.
No.
No. Why?
Only transfer the LC?
Yes. Only one LC. It is getting transferred. Right? C,
No.
all the beneficiaries make separate presentation of documents. Yes or no? Karpanagan.
No.
No. Why? Second beneficiary make a separate presentation of documents to the first beneficiary. Then the first beneficiary will make another presentation to presentation of documents to the issuing bank. Two beneficiaries have to make separate presentation to the two respective banks. Isn't it? Answer is yes. Okay. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Read it very carefully and see whether you can catch the mistake. Okay, kabara depa dimna question hai ko galu.
Answer C.
C.
Answer C. Any other answers? Who gave that answer C? Can I have the name?
Shehan.
Shan. Okay, Shan. Any other answers? What about girls from your block? Any answers?
Answer D.
Answer D. The standby credit may be issued at the request of the seller. Any other answers? Oh, what do you think? We have two answers on the table. Which one is correct? Anybody supporting Shehan and the other person?
C. C is the incorrect statement.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Standby credits, yes, standby credits are governed by UCP 600 and ISP 98.
ISP?
98.
98.
But this should be ISP 98.
98, not 95.
Not 95. Therefore, it is incorrect. Right? Therefore, it is incorrect. A arrender is A, B, and C. In my make a 98 cloth, we're going to make a short note take a standby research. On the short note take a standby research by Araka 98. On which of the following element back-to-back credit differs from the transferable credit? Anybody? A, B, C, or D? Hmm? What is the answer?
C.
C. Any other answers? All of us C or any other answers? The correct answer is C. Two independent undertaking by two different issuing banks. That is correct for back to back. But for transferable LCs, only one LC, one issuing bank. And take a transferring bank. Understand?
Answer A.
Answer A. Very good. Very good. A documentary credit is separate from the sale contract on which it is based. ඔය තියෙනනේ ආටිකල් එක අපි කියලාම කියලා දාන්නේ නේද? ආටිකල් Article 4, credits versus contract. That's the autonomy, right? That's the autonomy. So this is very clear. Answer is A. A documentary credit is separate from the sale contract on which it is based. This one. Okay, Mama, puri support if you have the UCP 600, read article 38 either. $38B. $38B. Then answer. Then answer. What is the answer?
C.
C. Have you gone through the article 38B? Have you gone through the article 38B? who gave that answer? Or just
Yes, sir.
just said that, see, okay, hurry. Knowing or unknowing the කිව්වේ. අර නිකන් පොට් එක හෙල්ලද්ද? It is very clear in Article 38B. It says, for the purpose of this article, transferable credit means a credit that specifically states it is transferable. A transferable credit may be made available in whole or in part to another beneficiary. Second para, transferring bank means a nominated bank that transfers the credit, or in a credit available with any bank, a bank that is specifically authorized by the issuing bank to transfer. Now here, credit available with any bank, right? But you have to, the issuing bank has to nominate the transferring bank. Otherwise, you can't transfer. Right? Transfer with any bank like any bank. So the answer is C. Other. What is the correct answer?
Answer A.
It must be confirmed. Is it correct? Laban? Transferable credit has been confirmed. The beneficiary has provided his request for transfer. Which of the following is now true? UCP කියවලා දෙන්න ඕන. Is it always? They are compared to confirmation? No. No. For me, the best option is the transferred credit must not be confirmed without specific instructions from the first beneficiary. How do we know that he doesn't want to pass on this particular facility to the second beneficiary, another unknown party? Right? Again, yeah, we can only arrange the. So we'll have to contact him first. So the answer is B. Answer is B. Take it up in the band. A, B, C, or D?
C.
Answer is C. Very good. Because either you can remain the same or reduce, but you cannot never increase it. Then you won't be able to handle it. Right? Okay. Correct answer is C. 2 and 3. Right? ගොඩක් කට්ටිය සමහරට D එකටත් වෙන ඇති. 1, 2 and 3 කියලා නමුත් right. Any questions on that? Otherwise, I'm going to start the next session, the new topic, right? I think we can, we'll start it and we'll go as far as we can and continue the session next week, right? So now we have covered all the payment methods and the special types also. Now, when we first discussed the introduction and all, we said we had to have a contract of sales, right? And then everything will be based on that. But a very important area now we are going to cover in international trade. You must have seen in every international trade operations, you must have seen what do you call these terms like CIF, FOB, CFR, CIF 25,000, FOB 25,000, there are terms, right? Those terms are very, very important. Those terms are very, very important. I told you, you can see the slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When after the First World War, the entire economy of the world was in shambles and everybody wanted to start their business again. We are talking about First World War. Can somebody tells me when it was started and when it was ended? First World War. අවුරුදු 4ක් තිබුණා මම උදව්වක් කළා. රයිට් කියන්න බන්න ඔබද ලක්ෂපති වගේ කවද්ද පටන් ගත්ත කවද්ද ඉවරුනේ? කොයි කාලෙද? දවස් නෙමෙයි අවුරුද්ද. දන්නේ නැහැ. It started in 1916 to 1920. Second World War. ඒක නම් ඔයගලන්ගේ කාලේ නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ චූටි කාලේ නේද ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ඒකින්ද. Second World War කවද්ද?
1947.
1947 no. කිට්ටුවට ආවා ඉවරේනේ පැත්ත.
1939 to 45.
Super. Who gave that answer? මට ආසයි. අඩු ගන්න එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා general knowledge දන්න කෙනෙක්. Shahanda.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Shan, you have right. ආසයි ඔයද දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕන කෙනෙක්. 1939 to 1945. Right? 47 එනකොට ඔක්කොම ටික ඉවරයි. ජපානෙත් ඉවරයි. ඔක්කොම ඉවරයි. 45 වලදී ජපාන්ට හිරෝෂිමා and Nagasaki වලට බෝම්බයක් දාලා ඒකත් ඉවරයි. යුද්ධෙත් ඉවරයි. We were talking about the First World War. After the First World War, then people were trying to do their international trade businesses again, like එක රටවල් වල ඔන්න ඔය හරියේදී because of the competition and the lack of understanding, right? Then the International Chamber of Commerce came forward and they introduced the ICC regulations on letter of credit operations. ICC regulations on letter of credit operations. So that was the first UCP. First UCP. We call it UCP 81. First one is called UCP 81. Right? The UCP 81 again, then on appear and controls the rules and regulations. Then you know UCP 600. What sort of a document? Right? So we put all the controls there and it was operating. But still, people were fighting with each other regarding who should do the shipment. Who should do the, is it the buyer or the seller? Right? Who has to do the insurance? Who is in charge of loading the ship, loading the goods to the ship? Right? Whose responsibility is unloading? All those things, again, people were fighting with each other. Then in 1936, ICC thought, yes, we'll have to give them some more regulations and right, on how the international operations should handle. And for that, they introduced international commercial terms. International commercial terms. In short, we call it Incoterms. Incoterms. So these Incoterms talks about under different Incoterms who should do the export clearing, who should book for the carriage, who should do the loading, right? Who should take the what they call this? Who should pay the custom duties? All those things, it is mentioned under each Incoterm category, right? So now the people started work according to that Incoterms, and when they say Incoterms CIF, then they know what are the obligations of seller, what are the obligations of buyer, right? So later they don't have to fight with each other. Then these Incoterms were changed time to time. And last time it was Incoterm 2000. Incoterm 2000 and then Incoterms 2010. Every 10 years they change almost. Earlier it was Incoterms 1990. Then Incoterms 2000. Then Incoterms 2010. And then came Incoterm 2020, which was introduced in January 1st, 2020. Right? Now, this is the one which we are following, Incoterms 2020. Right? And now we are going to discuss about what is Incoterms and the implications of contract of sale. This is also one of the important areas. That's why I'm telling you. Definitely you are going to get a question. Definitely you are going to get a question. So study. And if you can't understand anything, just discuss with me. Right? Various aspects of the contract of sale between the exporter and importer. Right? Now, this is something out of the normal contract of sale. Right? ඒකේ තව තියෙන සමහර ඒවා දැන් එතෙන්දී contract of sale එකේදී who should do this contract of carriage, export and import clearing. We are not going to mention all those things, but indirectly we have mentioned everything. How? We are putting the Incoterm there. We are putting the Incoterm there, whether it's CIF or CFR or expert, what කළේ දානවා. අකුරු තුනයි. ඒ අකුරු තුනෙන් කියවන ඒවා පිටු 10ක් විතර ඒවා කියවෙනවා. අකුරු තුනයි. Right? So between the exporter and importer, we should know contract of carriage. Services of a carrier to perform the carriage of goods from the exporter to importer. Who should do this? Right? Then export and import clearing. Who should do the export clearing? Who should attend and who should bear the cost? Import clearing, export clearing. Normally, just tell me, Shahan, with your common sense knowledge, who should attend export clearing always?
Exporter.
Exporter. No, Buddha, not always.
Customs.
Customs is getting involved. We have to get it done through customs. But what I'm asking is it importer or exporter? Is it importer or exporter?
Import.
Right?
Import.
No.
It depends on the Incoterm.
It is depending on the Incoterm. That's the correct answer. It is depending on the Incoterm. Right? The අපි දන්නේ import clearance හැමතිස්සෙම importer කියලානේ නෑ. Import clearance, there are instances where the exporter is attending. Right? Importer is sitting on an armchair and just waiting. Right? Then the contract of insurance. Contract of insurance. Now, insurance is a inherent risk in international trade. We know that. Then who is responsible of obtaining the insurance cover? Another one. Right? Then the documents. Who should prepare the documents? Is it the importer or exporter? Right? So they have to agree as to who undertakes the preparation of or obtaining the certain documents. For example, carriage, there's a transport document, insurance, inspection certificates, certificate of origin, all those things. Who should do it? right? The payment. The payment. What method of payment agreed by the importer and exporter? Right? All these things are included in the respective Incoterms, right? And this is not the only thing. There can be many more, right? The law governing the contracts. The law governing the contracts, the sales contract we discussed, sales contracts are governed at least in part by the laws of the country in which one of the parties involved is located, right? Normally, the majority of the sales contract, it is based on the geographical location of one of the parties, right? If you are exporting tea from Sri Lanka to UK, so the sales contract is under the jurisdiction of which country? That we had to agree. Normally, if no objections are there, in majority, it's in the seller's country. Jurisdiction under seller's country, right? The seller and buyer may themselves agree which law is to apply and include it in the contract. But normally they agree, right? If there is no provision, then in the event of a dispute, judge or arbitrator may first have to determine the governing law, right? Okay. What are Incoterms? Incoterms stand for International Commercial Terms and are rules for the interpretation of terms of delivery and not of other terms of the contract of sale, right? It is a terms of delivery and not of other terms of the contract of sale. A set of 11 trade terms used in contracts for sale and purchase of goods, right? Under Incoterm 2010 also we had 10. Under Incoterms 2021, that is Incoterms 2000. Incoterms 2000, we had 13 Incoterms, but it was reduced to 11 at Incoterm 2010. This, the new one, Incoterms 2020 also, we are having only 11 Incoterms, but not the exact one, not the exact Incoterms, they were changed, right? Incoterms are not law. It's only a guidance. Right? Okay. They will describe the obligations, the risk and cost between the parties. What do Incoterms not cover? Right? What Incoterms do not cover? It do not, sorry. What do Incoterms cover? Incoterms are in fact key elements of international contract of sale, and they tell the parties what to do with carriage of goods from seller to buyer, export and import clearance, explain the division of cost and risk between the parties. Right? Then, what Incoterms do not cover? do not automatically apply. They must be specified. Automatically, Incoterms apply when you have to specify, right? There is nothing on ownership or title to the goods, right? Incoterms do not talk about the ownership of the goods or the title to the goods. Detail on payment obligations, when, how, what security, against what documents. Eva, Incoterms do not have to bother. And we are not talking about that. That's a different one. Detailed vessel requirement. Detailed vessel requirement. Right? This vessel is what sort of a vessel we have to select. Eva in sales contract again. The age of the vessel and all. Incoterms doesn't talk about those things. Force majeure, the acts of God. Right? If something happens beyond our control, due to the acts of God can be floods, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, ඒ වගේ දේවල් හින්දා මොනවාරි ඩැමේජ් එකක් වුණොත් ඒකට Incoterms වක් කියන්නේ නැහැ. Termination of the contract, right? Yeah. බංකොලොත් වෙලා contract එක terminate වුණොත් ඒවටවත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. Insolvency කියන දන්නවනේ, bankruptcy ඒ බංකොලොත් වුණොත් එහෙම ඒවටවත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. DPU is the only Incoterm that specify unloading. Delivered at place unloading DPU කියන එක තමයි specify කරන්නේ. The exporter has to unload the goods at buyer's warehouse. Right? Those are the Incoterms. What are the Incoterms do not cover? In short, Incoterms do not constitute a complete contract of sale, but rather provide convenient, internationally recognized rules for the sale of goods. Right? Why are they important? They reduce the uncertainty caused by the trade practices in different countries, right? And then simplify the negotiations involved in international commerce, and a common understanding of the obligations, right? Ensure common understanding of the obligations. Implementation date of Incoterms 2020, as I said, it was 1st January 2020. The Incoterms were first published in 1936. That also I have mentioned. Incoterms are updated every 10 years. ICC rules today are used for the use of domestic and international trade terms. These ICC rules are used for both domestic and international trade terms. These are the 11 Incoterms which you have to memorize. These are the 12 Incoterms which you have to memorize, right? All the time, these Incoterms are what do you call this? Recognize how we identify the Incoterms in 3 letters, right? Rather than me going through it, I'll give you another 2 minutes for you to read and understand the Incoterms. For example, EXW, X work, FCA, free carrier. And top 7 is rules for any mode of transport. That means sea, inland waterways, railway, road, anything. But the last 4 is only for shipments, shipping, sea and inland waterway. What remain? Right? Okay. Okay, කියවන බාන නඩි දෙකක් තුනක් අරගෙන හොඳට මොකද මෙතනින් එහාට මම abbreviations විතරයි කියන්නේ. Incoterms 2020, the first 7 Incoterms are applicable to any mode of transport, that is sea, inland waterway, truck, air, courier, anything, transportation. But that is X-Work, FCA free carrier, CPT carriage paid to, CIP carriage and insurance paid to, and DDP delivered duty paid. Delivered duty paid. And DPU delivered at place unloaded. DPU delivered at place unloaded. This is a new Incoterm, and that's why I have put it in red. Earlier we didn't have this one, delivered at place unloaded. Right? Earlier we had DAT, delivered at terminal. They changed the DAT, and they introduced DPU. Right? DAP is delivered at place. Now rules for sea and inland waterway transport, right? It's FAS, free alongside ship, FOB, free on board, CFR, cost and freight, and CIF, cost, insurance and freight. Now, out of these, CIF, CFR, and FOB are very popular, right? Sometimes FS also. The last 3 is very popular, and CIP also very popular. When we discuss further, you will understand, right? This is a formal creation of 2 classes of Incoterms, that is deliveries by any modes of transport, sea, road, air, rail, multimodal, everything. As I said, X-Work, FCA, CPT, CIP, DAP, DPU, DDP. Right? It is necessary to specify place of delivery or destination always. Right? Okay. Then the deliveries by sea and inland waterway. Deliveries by sea and inland waterway. FAS, FOB, CFR, and CIF. Okay. It is necessary to specify port of shipment or destination. It is very important. Just see what is the difference between renting and a place. This is port. Why you are saying port? Deliveries by sea and inland waterways. What do you mean by inland waterways? Can you give me one example for an inland waterway? Sea and seaport, ne? Colombo port.
River.
Yeah, there are massive rivers in the world. For example, River Nile in Egypt, Cairo, River Nile, local ships and Lanka ships again, 300 feet to 400 feet, local ships. You know, then France, River Seine, always you can see ships are going up and down, right? Those are inland waterways, right? Always, when there's a ship, there is a port, seaport. Otherwise, other places, it is only the place, right? That is why we put place and port. Major changes in Incoterms 2020, I told you, delivered at terminal, DAT was omitted. Earlier in 2010, you get DAT. Now DAT was omitted and DPU was introduced. Delivered to do and unloaded was added. Right? BL issued onboard for FCA transactions. This is for free carrier transactions. BL issued onboard onboard BL issue it's not a must. Different levels of insurance coverages for CIF and CIP terms. Now, insurance coverage is always either it can be cargo clause A, cargo clause B, or cargo clause C. It's just like you are getting the insurance for your vehicle, right? Nishan, if you are having a bike or a car, right, you are getting, it is a must that you have to get the insurance, right? You can get either a comprehensive insurance by paying a good premium, or still you can drive on the road by taking what?
Third-party insurance.
Third-party insurance. By obtaining third-party insurance. Right? The insurance requirement is done. Third party. But if something happens, you will not be getting penalized. What a no benefits to you, only to the third party. Right? Likewise, under insurance, either with this cargo clause A, B, or C. Cargo clause A is all risk covered, like comprehensive insurance, all risk covered. Cargo clause C is like third party insurance, right? But make it CIP for mainly for any mode of transportation, right? CIP cargo clause A, all risk covered is a must. Cargo clause A, all risk covered is a must. Transport in own vehicles, that also we can, they have allowed their own vehicles also. Transport safety and inclusion of explanatory notes for users, all those things were new changes in Incoterm 2020. Don't worry about this. I will never ask questions on this particular one. Right? VGM and SOLAS. Now we just on the steps of global logistics. The steps of global logistics. Just for your information, how it is happening. Right? The manufacturer will manufacture the goods, step one, and then do the loading. Right? They will do the loading. Right? And then they will take the goods to the preliminary transportation. That is, they take the good to the for export clearance, to customs clearance for exports. Right? Number 3 from customers warehouse to the customs. Customers warehouse to the customs. That is inland transport by lorry or truck will take the goods to the customs clearance for export. Then after that export clearance, they will be loaded to a ship. After export clearance, they will be loaded to a ship and handling outbound. Country and then we'll have to take the insurance also. And based on the transportation, either plane or ship or whatever, will main international transportation, we will send the goods to the importer's country. Then importer's country, it will be unloaded and again, they have to go through the custom clearance duties. That is, custom clearances, and they have to pay import duties, customs. And then once everything is done, custom will release the goods. Then after that, you have to load it to another lorry and take to your warehouse, and you have to unload it and stack it. Now, these are the global logistic steps. Like in very simple, you want to understand it all, right? And there are 3 types of Incoterms we are talking, right? Either we can say F terms, FCA, FAS, FOB, starting with F. Then there can be C terms, CFR, CIF, CPT, CIP. And there can be 3 D terms, DAP, DPU, DDP. Right? Here, the blue color again, Mandira CN inland waterways. That is FAS, FOB, CFR, and CIF. In red color, I have mentioned any mode of transport. Any mode of transport. Right? Next week, I'll give you another easy one for you to study. At a glance, I have done this thing. That also we will do. Right. Now I have to discuss the 11 Incoterms with you. Right? Shall we give that for next week, because I'm a little bit uncomfortable with my, like, looks like I'm having some fever. Okay, so I think I better have a small rest before I start the next session at 1 o'clock. That also I can't cancel. I'll have to do the thing. So with you people now, I have done about more than 3.5 hours continuously. Let's continue for next week. Okay, within Northala, right?